This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Brett Baer in Washington. The Trump bandwagon is picking up steam ahead of the first Republican presidential debate in 3 days. The latest Fox News poll shows Trump gaining ground and gaining much wider acceptance among GOP voters. This as Vice President Joe Biden gives the strongest indication yet that he is seriously considering a run against Hillary Clinton. We have Fox team coverage tonight. Ed Henry with what could be the biggest challenge so far to the Clinton campaign. But we begin with Chief Political Correspondent Carl Cameron and a look at the numbers and the trends on the Republican side. Carl.
A lot of movement in the polls, and it shows that this is a very, very tense race for a lot of the Republicans. And here we go. Donald Trump leads with 26%, higher than any other Republican in the Fox poll this year. Jeb Bush runs second, the only other candidate in double digits, at 15%. Scott Walker's at 9%. He's lost 6 points since our June poll. Ben Carson's fourth with 7. Ted Cruz and Mike Huckabee are tied at 6. Marco Rubio and Rand Paul are tied at 5. Chris Christie and John Kasich are both at 3%. Kasich's campaign is less than 3 weeks old, and he's moved into the middle of the pack. Christie's downplaying.
Everybody take a deep breath. It's the summer. No one's voting for 7 months.
Rounding out the field are Carly Fiorina and Rick Santorum, tied at 2%. Rick Perry and Bobby Jindal are both at 1%. George Pataki, Lindsey Graham, and Jim Gilmore all score lower than 1%. Trump's got an 11-point edge over Bush, yet he's trying to lower debate expectations against the political pros.
Every night they go in a debate with somebody. You know, I haven't done that, but I think I'll do fine, and I look forward to it, actually.
He slammed 5 rivals for attending the Koch brothers donor summit yesterday. He wasn't invited and seemed to echo the left's charge that the GOP is selling out to the conservative industrialists. Quote, "I wish good luck to all of the Republican candidates that traveled to California to beg for money, etc. from the Koch brothers. Puppets?" Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Carly Fiorina, and Scott Walker all took part.
I wish the whole world could see what goes on here.
Ahead of Thursday's Fox News debate, Bush tried to frame the immigration issue today, reiterating his priorities. Beef up border patrols, infrastructure and electronic border surveillance, require e-verification for employment, deport immigrants who overstay or violate terms of their visas, and crack down on sanctuary cities that ignore federal laws. Dr. Ben Carson suggested that Trump's bombastic candidacy benefits his campaign because it draws attention away from Carson's political weaknesses, which in the process he drew attention to.
I think it's a tremendous help. It's a tremendous aid because fewer people are talking about my lack of political experience now, and that's good.
14 of the overall 17 candidates are in New Hampshire for a cattle call tonight. This is by far the biggest political week the campaign's seen so far, and the Republican National Committee is now working on a proposed pledge for the GOP field that would say that no runner-up will run a spoiler campaign against the winner as an independent. They insist it's not aimed specifically at Trump, though he is the only candidate in the field who refuses to rule out that option. Brett.
All right, Carl, thank you. More on New Hampshire at the bottom of the hour. The Republican candidate debates will be held Thursday in Cleveland. The first event begins at 5 Eastern. Coverage of the primetime debate starts at 8:50 p.m. Debate night on FNC. You don't want to miss it. Hillary Clinton is back on the air tomorrow. The Democratic frontrunner will begin running TV ads in the early primary and caucus states. And she may need all the help she can get because we have more signs tonight that Vice President Joe Biden may get into this race. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry is covering the Democrats again tonight.
Democrats close to Hillary Clinton have loved the tension in the crowded GOP field, yet she may now have a civil war of her own, with the real possibility of a challenge from Vice President Joe Biden, leaving some of President Obama's top advisors suddenly caught in the middle of a divisive battle over who will survive, his vice president or his former Secretary of State.
The president certainly believes that a spirited contest would be in the best interests of our party and in the best interests of our country.
He has attained a great stature as a senior statesman within the Democratic Party, and does he want to risk all that in a battle that he would be very uphill?
The new Fox poll shows while Clinton still has a commanding lead on the Democratic side, she's reached a new low after self-inflicted wounds. Clinton has dropped 10 points since June, from 61% to 51%. While Democratic Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders has risen to 22%, and Biden has inched up to 13%. The speculation about Biden accelerated after Fox broke the news last Thursday on Special Report that the vice president's chief of staff was spotted meeting with a top Democratic fundraiser. Fox has now confirmed the vice president also brought back 2 key political advisors, Ted Kaufman and Mike Donilon. while there is also new momentum for the Chicago-based Draft Biden 2016, where "I'm riding with Biden" bumper stickers are sold out. The outside group just hired Josh Alcorn, a close advisor to the late Beau Biden. Significant since the New York Times reported the vice president's son urged him to run before his recent death. Clinton aides insist they're not panicking, though the candidate has suddenly decided to start running her first TV ads in Iowa and New Hampshire to yet again try to reintroduce herself to voters.
And now a new title, Grandma.
Before the Biden boomlet, Sanders was drawing huge crowds, leaving Democratic National Committee Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz tongue-tied in 2 interviews over a simple question.
What is the difference between a Democrat and a socialist? I used to think there was a big difference. What do you think it is?
The difference between
a Democrat like Hillary Clinton and a socialist like Bernie Sanders.
What's the difference between being a Democrat and being a Republican?
Well,
Can you explain the difference?
The important distinction that I think we're going to be discussing, I'm confident we'll be discussing in this campaign, is the difference between Democrats and Republicans.
Now, it's not a coincidence that Clinton's TV ads start in Iowa and New Hampshire tomorrow, just 2 days before that first Fox debate. It's a chance for her to frame her message before Republicans duke it out. Then Clinton largely disappears from the stage this week. She'll be doing a lot of fundraising behind closed doors. Brett.
All right, Ed, thank you. The White House calls it the starting gun for an all-out push against climate change. Critics say President Obama's new regulatory effort will lead to higher energy prices and lower supplies. Correspondent Kevin Corke takes a look at the president's clean power strategy.
We're the first generation to feel the impact of climate change and the last generation that can do something about it.
And that something is cleaning the air, one state at a time. That's the idea behind President Obama's Clean Power Plan, to cut greenhouse gas emissions from the nation's power plants and fundamentally transform the way Americans get their electricity.
The EPA is setting the first ever nationwide standards to end the limitless dumping of carbon pollution from power plants.
The White House says the plan will drastically reduce power plant emissions, 32% by 2030 compared to 2005 levels. Fewer American children will suffer from asthma, and pollution-related deaths could plummet. Tens of thousands of new jobs will be created in clean power technologies like solar and wind. And the plan will save families money, $85 annually when completed, and $155 billion collectively between 2020 and 2030.
If you care about low-income minority communities, start protecting the air that they breathe and stop trying to rob them of their health care.
But for all the thunderous praise at the White House, the plan has been pilloried by many on Capitol Hill for pushing sweet promises over sound policy.
The administration is now trying to impose these deeply regressive regulations that may be illegal, that won't meaningfully impact the global environment.
And industry experts warn compliance with the plan could cost billions and will likely end up in a fierce court battle.
The plan, first of all, it's illegal. Second of all, it's very, very expensive. And third, it does not prevent climate change.
I have no doubt that special interests and the politicians who are in their pockets will fight tooth and nail against this specific rule. But the fact is, this is a step in the right direction.
The Clean Power Plan is essentially the final version of regulations by the Environmental Protection Agency. And anticipating a full-on assault of this plan, the White House is rolling the president out to pump it up. In fact, he's going to Nevada to speak at the National Clean Energy Summit, and later he'll become the first sitting U.S. president to visit the Alaskan Arctic. Brett?
Kevin Corke, live on the North Lawn. Kevin, thank you. So what do you think about the president's climate plan? Let me know at facebook.com/BrettBairSR or on Twitter @BrettBair. You can use the hashtag special report. Up next, big changes coming in the U.S. air campaign against ISIS. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 7 in Austin, as Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is booked on felony securities fraud charges. The Republican is accused of misleading investors before becoming the state's top lawyer. The Texas Republican Party is condemning what it calls a sloppy judicial process. Fox 2 in San Francisco, as cooler temperatures help crews battling a massive wildfire north of the city. About 3,000 firefighters are on the job. The fire tripled in size over the weekend. It has burned 24 homes and threatened thousands more. And this is a live look at Long Beach, California. Nice day there from Fox 11 in Los Angeles. One of the big stories there tonight, a lawsuit over meth. in a customer's In-N-Out burger order. Fred Malalado said he became ill after drinking a beverage that contained 2 capsules of methamphetamine. The restaurant denies the charges. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.